10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, ignition, 1, 0, abort.
And there goes the stop. Oh man.
Wait, what's your name? Blast off?
No. No. No.
And that was my 6-year-old son who had to be home from school today that you heard in the video. He couldn't figure out what was going on either. So obviously I was hoping for a successful launch. Did not happen. But Asher's trying to get it figured out so they can start doing daily launches. And so we'll see what happens there. But, you know, I ran across this article of our friends at Daily Upside, and it went into, you know, this industry, all the numbers that are projected, which are just huge, because it's not every day you get on the ground floor of a whole industry that is just starting to take off. It's kind of like if you got into Tesla or some other companies when, you know, EVs just started to take off back between like 2013 and 2018, right? I mean, that's what you're basically talking about here. And so it's a big thing. It's not every day you get to do that. And so I wanted to bring all these numbers because they are huge. The potential is huge. And so, you know, and I'm going to show you all the companies involved, the stats, the companies that might be coming public, and, you know, also show you one of the coolest things I've ever seen when it comes to the space industry and stuff, and what we got to look forward to in the future. So if you're getting out of it, hit the like, subscribe button. I really appreciate it. And let's go ahead and get into this. And so if we go back to 2020, guys, you can already see that the space economy was already worth $447 billion back then. And according to the Space Foundation, 80% of that was made up of commercial activity. And you can just see by this chart here, I mean, the growth that's already happened and projected to happen going into like 2040, I believe this is. And so this is definitely going to be a $1 trillion industry easy. And I think it's going to happen even faster than that. But you can see all the different industries actually make up the space industry. They have something to do with it. You know, going all the way from consumer TV, obviously the satellite launches, which is the really big one, broadband, fixed satellite services, consumer radio. And you can see, looking back at 2021, commercial made up 75% or $275 billion worth of the industry. And the big one, and this is where Asher's going to come in at, Rocket Lab, some other ones, is the satellites, right? I mean, this is the big thing. You know, we all know SpaceX has got big plans for this. But you can see right here, Amazon, July 2020, was granted approval by the FCC to launch and operate an international constellation of 3,235 satellites. Obviously, a constellation is a group of satellites. Then on top of that, you got SpaceX. They're going to have Starlink, obviously. And that right there is going to be 42,000 internet beaming satellites in orbit when they're finally said and done with that. And one of the coolest things I saw right here was building factories in the sky. It's got California's Varda Space Industries raised $42 million to support its goal to build the world's first off-world factory as early as next year. And if you like an article like this with data like this to put something on your radar, you can subscribe to the Daily Upside just by hitting the link down below, putting your email in, hitting submit. Again, it's 100% free. It doesn't cost you a single penny. And so obviously the possibilities are endless when it comes to this industry because, again, it's just starting, right? And I have no doubt you'll have factories up there eventually. I don't know how soon that's going to happen. And it's going to cost a heck of a lot more than $42 million. But, you know, if you just look at the commercial industry, they always move faster than the government. Right now the government's basically stepped out. The commercial industry is taking over. You know, it's going to move at a much faster pace than I think people really understand. I mean, there's already a company out there that has invented 3D printers that can actually build the satellites in space, build other things in space. And so, you know, that's going to speed up the process as well because you have to carry less payload up. You can just start making it up there. That's kind of the key, right, to make this happen. And that way you have to have actually less space launches if you think about it, if you can actually make stuff in space. But, you know, just look at think about what you've watched NASA launch so many rockets, right? And everything gets propelled off and floats around in space forever. But just look what Elon Musk and SpaceX has already been able to do in the short amount of time they've been around. I mean, this is one of the coolest things I've seen. I showed it to my son today, and he was amazed by it. And I'm a grown man, and I was amazed by it.
Starship heading back to the landing zone.
And doesn't that just show you how slow government really is? Because how many, I mean, NASA's been around for a long, long time, and they couldn't figure that out or didn't try to figure it out. I don't know which one it was. If you have an order from NASA, maybe you can let us know. Or maybe it was just money, right? And then you saw SpaceX come on. It didn't take them that long at all to figure out how to do this, right? To actually land the ships and reuse the rockets and everything else. I mean, that's amazing to me when I see that. I'm like a kid when it comes to this stuff. But, you know, that's amazing. We're talking about saving money on top of it. Are you kidding me? I mean, it's unbelievable, you know? And so, obviously, the big thing right now, as you can see, and we're going to go into the charts here, is, you know, this market obviously is not, you know, very merciful when it comes to these kind of companies. A lot of these companies are not going to be profitable for years, okay? And they're very speculative. There's no doubt about that. And you can see it in the stocks, as you can see right here. And don't forget, most of these are SPAC stocks, okay? You're talking about Astro, which we saw down 40% since September alone. Rocket Lab down 53, Redwire down 55, Momentus down 63, Virgin Light down 66, Black Sky, good lord, down like 79. And then you move forward, looking at, you know, 2022, you can see they're still on that downtrend, still down massively. They've all kind of somewhat moved up over the last like 4 or 5 days. And like I said in there, one thing you have to keep in mind if you're in these stocks already, looking on getting these stocks. I'm not telling you to run out and buy these stocks. I'm telling you that, for God's sakes, put them on your watch list for sure. Because yes, in the environment we're in right now with rate hikes and all the inflation and everything like that, you know, speculative stocks are definitely on the back burner for institutions, and that's what you need to really drive these stocks. For now, most likely, we'll see on that. But understand also, most of these are SPAC stocks. One just came public in December. And, you know, it ended up obviously crashing and burning because, you know, SPAC stocks are out of favor, right? I mean, you saw the prices on these stocks. I mean, most of them, somewhere between like $2 and $6, right? I think Rocket Lab is going for a little bit more than that, you know, but for the most part, they're cheap as dirt. I mean, that's just the truth, right? And so, and some of them is like there's nowhere to go but upside if they're successful at what they're doing. And with each stock, you got to look through them because there's a lot of them, right? But like Momentus, right? I've done videos on that in the past. You know, the way to look at it is this. If we're talking about the ground level, remember Rocket Labs, Astra, since they're publicly traded now, those are the taxi cabs from the ground into space. They're delivering the payloads. Momentus is like UPS in space. Okay, they have this device that carries everything around. They can just deliver to the space station, to this factory, to whatever they got to do. Okay, that's what they do. You know, you got Redwire and in Black Sky. I mean, they're more into the satellites. One ends up 3D printing stuff up there as well. One of those companies, I want to say it's Redwire, but don't count me on this one. It's been a long time since I did a video on it. But it actually owns a bunch of different companies, space companies. And actually, it's one of the ones that probably, if not profitable now, be profitable much sooner, just because they bought a bunch of different companies to put under one umbrella. And so, you know, that's something to keep in mind as well. But the big daddy of them all, which I think another thing is hurting these stocks, is I think a lot of people are just waiting on SpaceX. Like SpaceX, you know, with Elon Musk, whatever he touched seems to turn to gold, or at least the stock does, right? And so, you know, the man's a billionaire for a reason. And I think people think SpaceX will be like the Tesla of space, right? Because look what they've been able to do in such a short amount of time, right? And he's determined, he's a workaholic, he hires smart people. And so, you know, I'm assuming, and this is an assumption, I can't find a date of when if they're ever going to come public. I'm sure they will. And just because out of pure greed and wanting money out of this, you know, but I don't think he's going to come with a SPAC, that's for sure. That would be just dumb right now. But, you know, if they IPO and take a regular traditional IPO, I think it's going to be one of the biggest IPOs in history. I mean, it's going to be unbelievable, depending on, of course, I mean, I'm assuming he's going to wait for the market to get a little better. I mean, I know I would until we're kind of back in a bull run to do that, but a lot of people could be waiting on that one as well. And so, you know, that's something to think about too. And if you're not into like, hey, I don't want to pick individuals, because again, all these are speculative, right? I don't think SpaceX is not going to be speculative. It's just not. It's going to be too big by the time it comes public or whatever. But these other ones, yeah, I mean, they are. There's no doubt about it. They're a gamble and stuff like that. But if you're not into that, look at the ETFs. You know, I mean, just a couple ETFs like Ark X. You can see right here, there's the expense ratio. You see the holdings. She doesn't hold, like, I don't think any of these stocks in her fund, but you can guarantee when SpaceX goes public, whenever it does, it'll definitely go into the SpaceX fund. And of course, the other one you got is UFO. This one actually does hold some of those more speculative stocks. As you can see right there, there's Rocket Labs, and they got a couple of other ones in there as well. But this way, in a way, you're in the ground floor in an ETF that when the space industry does start to really take off and get into its own, obviously you're down at a low price and stuff. And again, I'm not saying do that right now. I mean, right now, I'd probably just wait for CPI data to come on Friday. But this is those things for me. Like for me, these are on my watch list, especially the ETFs, that kind of stuff. And what you're going to see is not just about these companies. Obviously, you can go into Boeing, any defense contractor, stuff like that. Any kind of company that makes satellites is another big one. And if you can find that company that, during the gold rush, it wasn't about people digging for gold that made so much money. It was people that made the picks and the axes and the shovels and stuff, right? Those are the ones that made the money. So if you can find a space company like that, then that's another way to go as well. But just understand, I mean, yeah, especially like for my son's portfolio, I'll pick the right time where I feel comfortable about it. But one of these, and SpaceX Public or an ETF, something, will go in his portfolio because he's super young. And yes, I'll probably be old and gray by the time the space industry gets to its climax, but he will not be. And so again, it's hard to find industries you can get in on the ground floor of and take advantage of the situation. But this is one of those situations where, stocks are being pummeled, right? They're absolutely being pummeled. And so, it's something to think about. Or again, you can wait for SpaceX to come public. It's obviously going to be the best in class. Like Tesla in the EV industry is the best in class. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You might be able to get higher returns, obviously, on the other ones. But because they're more speculative, and usually you get, higher returns off speculative stocks sometimes. But, that's something to think about. And, hope you got something out of it. Let me know what you're doing in the comments, what you think about the space industry, and what year do you really think it's really going to start just to absolutely rocket? I mean, that's a question I put out there. Like, what year do you think it's going to start to just absolutely take off like, the EV industry did? And so, hit me up in the comments on that. And, if you want to subscribe to the Daily Upside and get articles like this right here, hit the link down the bottom. It's 100% free. Just put your email in, hit submit. That's it. There's no catch-22 to it or nothing. Okay, you get really good articles just like this with a whole lot of detail in it, and it don't cost you nothing. Okay, and so I hope you guys got something out of this, and I hope you have a wonderful day.